più tra i farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno di torno girano, delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto a dolcino d'amore.
Hey everybody, Chico and Poppy here, and Angelina. You don't get to see her too much. We're all excited because we're gonna make lasagna today. I could call it lasagna al forno. You know what that means?
Italian.
No, it means out of the oven.
You know, it's kind of stupid. Remember when those people do you remember we're gonna make Italian lasagna?
Yeah, isn't all lasagna Italian? Well, no, I think one time Grandma made Irish lasagna, and we kind of teased her a lot about that. Anyways, let's get started, okay? You gonna stick around, or you gonna go play a game?
Because I have to do wrestling.
Wrestling tonight?
Can I
Yeah.
do some cheese?
That's regatta. You're not gonna want that by
I
itself.
Just one.
You can taste it if you want, but
Mm.
sometimes you can use that in cannolis as well.
Can I take
Okay,
one?
let me get started here, all right? When I have some of these left over, I'll give you some. All right, everybody, we're gonna make lasagna. I got a nice deep pan here, okay? And I know a lot of you already know how to do this, and we're gonna be making layers. Once again, it's layers. I bought here a 32-ounce container of regatta. I try to use whole milk. I don't like the part skim. Same thing with the mozzarella cheese. You want to buy whole milk. It's like the real deal. You don't want to get the part skim, okay? Normally, I'll buy this in a block, and I'll grind it. I'll shred this up myself. It's cheaper that way, but they didn't have it this week, so I bought the packages. It's 2 pounds of this, and I saved one package. I saved 8 ounces for afterwards, right before it's ready to come out, and then I'll top it all off with that 8 ounces of cheese. But I'm going to use 3/4 of it now to layer this all up, okay? And here we go. We're going to start by coating the bottom of the pan, all right? And I'm going to try to get a full 5 layers in here. Now, if you watched the last recipe I did, I had leftover sauce. Last week, I made the spaghetti and meatballs, and I had this sauce. And I used some of this sauce to make the gumbo soup. And I have enough now to make the lasagna. So I didn't go out and make this sauce just for the lasagna. I'm doing it because it's a leftover meal. Alright, so you coat the bottom of that so it doesn't stick, and then we start with our layers here. Alright, so here we go. You can try to overlap your pasta just a little bit here. You should be able to get 4. I hope you can see there. I got it as close as I can to the camera. But you want to try to get a full 4 on the bottom. I cooked this lasagna a little bit more than al dente. And I've told you before, al dente means to the tooth. You know, it has a little bite to it. With this, I did it a little bit more than al dente because we're going to be putting this in the oven for about an hour. And the worst thing you could possibly do if you're making lasagna is to overcook it. Overcooked pasta is mush. It's terrible, and everybody will talk about your lasagna, how bad it is. And it could have just been you had it in the oven too long. So don't cook it when you're boiling it all the way. You want it to be a little bit more than al dente. I'm going to cook this in the oven for an hour. So you can go a little bit under when you're cooking it the first time. Alright, so we got this in here, and then we're going to make some layers. This is my regatta here, and I'm going to just do some little spoonfuls down here like this. Doesn't have to be pretty. You can do this fairly quickly here. You want every piece here to have some of that cheese on there, and you want to spread it out because otherwise it won't cook properly, and you'll have it in the oven for an hour, but you'll have spots that are still a little cold because this was too thick. So you want to kind of spread it out, and any way you want to do it. I'm using a spoon. If you need to use a knife or whatever works for you, do it. Okay, so what did I tell you? I told you about the regatta. I told you about the mozzarella. What are you doing, Chico? Trying to scare me?
I was putting bunny ears on you.
Oh.
I'm dancing.
I told you about the meatballs. And I also, what I use is I like to have fresh spinach. I've already chopped some up here, you can see it. And you won't believe how nice that goes with the regatta and the mozzarella. It's really good. Whenever I have that, people say, what is the green in there? That's really good. And they're very surprised when I tell them that it's spinach. Alright, so we got the regatta in there. We can put a little bit of the meatballs in here. Quick and dirty, doesn't have to be anything special. Because like I said, we're going to be just trying to make 5 layers of the same ingredients. I want to use up these meatballs. I want to use up as much sauce as I can. I don't put my sauce in the layers anymore because it gets too, when your lasagna is all done and it's a mess. These meatballs have some sauce on them, so I found that you don't need to add any additional sauce to your layers, okay? So don't do that and you'll find your lasagna will be more firm. Alright, so we got the regatta, we got the noodles, we're going to do a little bit of the spinach here. Look how nice that looks. That green, nice fresh ingredients. You'll be surprised how much you're going to like that spinach. It doesn't really taste like spinach when it's cooked. Alright, I'll put a little bit of Parmesan cheese on each layer. And then we're going to put a layer of mozzarella.
I love your lasagna.
It's nice, huh? See how nice that looks? Because it's all fresh ingredients. You really, I mean, the more mozzarella the better in our family, but okay, that looks like a good layer, right? And now we're going to do another one. Try to find some pieces that are not torn. A lot of times it gets torn. I'm going to go the opposite way this time.
And I use what you call.
You eat whatever's left over, huh?
I like to eat.
You see how I overlap it a little bit?
Besides chocolate, I love to eat everything but besides chocolate.
Okay, overlap it there.
Right? I do not like chocolate.
Alright, here we go. Here's our 4th one. And before I put any cheese on it, I'm going to push that down. See how I do that? That's gonna make sure, right, it's gonna make sure that we can get those 5 layers in there. I really like to have a 5 layer.
Next time you should try doing 6.
Oh, I'd have to have a different pan. Oh, and by the way, this regatta, I like to leave it out at room temperature. You see how it's a little friendlier to me right now? If I took it right out of the refrigerator, I wouldn't be able to get this out and I wouldn't be able to spread it. So do that's a little secret there. Just take it out a little bit early. Get it room temperature.
It would maybe even be like the cheese you were sprinkling on top, but yeah.
Some people use the regatta when they do cannolis. It's like a poor man's cannoli. Mascarpone is the best though. Alright, so we got that on there. This is the same layer we're going to do. What did I do next? We can do, let's do a little bit meatball here again. I just used this slotted spoon and I took the meatballs out and I cut them up. As a matter of fact, it was a Sunday sauce, so it had some sausage in it, and I actually strained that out with this same spoon. So I got a little bit of the sausage in here too, because the family likes the sausage in the lasagna as well. Alright, so we got the meat in there like that. Do another layer of this spinach. And our mozzarella. Mozzarella. See how nice that looks? Nice and fresh. You're really going to like the green in there. Okay, let's get another layer. I'm going to go on the opposite side again. That way it'll make sure that there's no gaps. The only problem I have is my pasta sticking over here because I did it right before I got Chico off the bus, and it must have still been just a little bit warm. And it's sticking a little bit, but it's alright. You make it work. I'd like to find some pieces that aren't ripped. I'm not always impressed with the pasta. last time I did stuffed shells, the shells were terrible. They're just a mess. They were just terrible. And there was a name brand too. It was a good brand, but I'm not impressed sometimes with the lasagna or the stuffed shells. One of these episodes, I'm gonna do the homemade pasta again. I haven't done that in forever. And it's an acquired taste, and my family hasn't had it yet, so I like to make it at least once so they can taste it. And the only scary part is if they really, really like it, because then I'm gonna have to make it all the time. They got a attachment you can put on the one of the things I got over here, the blender there, and you can put an attachment on it. It's supposed to make it a little bit easier, but okay, so we're doing another layer here. We got that on there. Let's put a little more meat. I'm going to be able to use up all these meatballs, and I won't have too much sauce left either. Sometimes you want to keep a little sauce for afterwards. Some people like a little extra on top of their lasagna. But you see, you don't need to put it in those layers because each one of these meatballs has some of that sauce on there. Alright, so now we're going to go a little bit with the spinach again. Of course, I chopped up the whole thing of spinach, and I'm sure we're not going to need it all. Alright. Can't forget the Parmesan. I think I forgot that last layer, but no big deal. There we go. I think I'm at what, layer 3 am I think? How do you know? You got eyes in the kitchen? All my pasta sticking together over here in a big clump.
How are you going to fit it all?
I just barely make it. We got to push it down like I was doing, right?
Then push it down.
I mean, you don't have to have 5 layers. I like to have a thicker lasagna. I think my mom, when she does it, she only does a couple layers. But she does it quick, you know. She'll make a quick batch of lasagna or something for her and my dad, and she just does a couple layers. Oh, this pasta is just a mess. What a mess. I think some of it is me and some of it is the pasta. I'm not taking all the blame here. See, it doesn't really matter. Now we're going to push this down. It's going to give me a little bit more room. And we're almost done here, guys. Right, this is my 4th, and then I'm going to try to squeak out one more layer, and then I can decide if I'm going to put this in the oven right away, or, you know, like with you guys, you might do this ahead of time. I mean, you could do this a day ahead of time, or, you know, if you got company coming, then you can throw it in the oven once everybody comes over and gets comfortable and stuff. That's the good thing about this. Same thing like with the recipe I did the other day, the sirloin tips. I mean, it's the same type of thing. You can do that ahead of time, and you know, get all the prep out of the way when nobody's around, and then all you got to do is just throw it in the oven. You can socialize and have a glass of wine and talk, and meanwhile the lasagna was already done, and you're just putting it in the oven. All right, I'm almost out of the meatballs, which is good. Be able to finish these right up here. Okay. I mean, you could do this without the meat too. I mean, you don't have to have the meat. It just would be they call it a vegetable lasagna. I'd like that. I don't have to have the meat in it every time. Okay. And because I'm doing 5 layers, I'm going to put a pan underneath this so that if it starts to spill out a little bit, it won't go all over the place in the oven, you know. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to be able, as long as my pasta will let me, I should be able to knock out one more layer. Let's give it a try. Let's see what I got here. Can you see how some of this is? It's a mess. It was still warm and I was trying to get him off the bus. Chico will be happy because he likes to eat all the scraps. You don't have to have one solid piece. You can use some of the broken ones. Now push that down like that, and you see I'm gonna have enough room to have my 5 layers. See, Chico? Yeah, here we go. And see, I'm probably only gonna use about half of that regatta. You can use more of the regatta, but I don't like to have too much of that cheese.
I love regatta.
Do you?
It looks like I have a lot.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of noodles you can have before you go and do your, what do you got, wrestling? First time too, right, over the year? Gotta make sure you don't break your wrist again. I don't even know if everybody knows that what happened there, right? You had it in a cast.
Oh, if you guys know that one video my dad asked me if I had my wrist brace on, I'll bring them the cast too. I'll show you.
I think I put the cast up in the attic. Yeah, with stuff that I save for you for when you get older, and I can give you stuff from when you were a kid.
Well, this is...
Yeah, that's the brace they gave you after they took the cast off. You
Good company.
got a buckle fracture at school jumping off the monkey ball.
I wasn't jumping off it.
You fell off?
Trying to be a ninja.
A ninja?
I'm like, whoa. Okay.
That was a long time he had the cast on there.
I want to give them a demonstration.
How are you going to show him a demonstration?
Show them.
Okay.
Show them.
Now this is the last layer. So now I'm going to put some sauce on top of this one. And then I'm going to put aluminum foil over the top, and when I'm ready I'm going to put it in the oven for an hour. When it's about ready, I'm going to take the aluminum foil off, and then that little 8 ounce of cheese that I put off to the side, that's when I'm going to put the cheese on. If you do it now, the cheese will it'll melt all up and you won't, it'll dry all up. So I save it. I don't put it on until like the last 10 minutes. When I know this is done and ready, I take the aluminum foil off and then I top it off with that extra cheese. It gives it a good look. Now this was easy, right guys? And like I said, you're using leftover sauce. I mean, it would be too much work for me if I had to make all of this sauce and meatballs and then from there try to do lasagna. That's too hard for me to do. With my back and all, I wouldn't be able to do that. So this is a leftover. This is the sauce that I've already had. They were almost done. If you don't have this completely coated, you know what'll happen when the heat gets on some of that pasta? It'll dry it all out.
Like bread. If you keep on reheating bread.
Yeah. There we go. That, and then I'll just top it off with a little bit of cheese like that. Grandma Jen taught me how to do all of this.
Also, maybe later, guys, I'll show you what I usually wear to wrestling.
Grandma Jen used to always say, enjoy your life and food every day. Enjoy your life every day. And then we added in there, and food. Enjoy your life and food every day.
1 hour later.
Okay, so we're gonna take this out now. And we're gonna top it with that cheese I told you about that I put off to the side. What was it, about 8 ounces of cheese that I leave for the end here. So, see this? This is one heavy pan of lasagna. Here's the cheese. Put this on here. We're gonna top it all off. Trying to get it on without dropping any. Okay, probably about 10 minutes or so this will be melted and we'll be ready to eat. Put it back in. Heavy.
Few moments later.
Okay, so I'm going to take this out now. This cheese, I'm sure, is melted. And we're going to let this sit a little bit because if I try to cut into it now, it's just going to be a hot mess. So we're going to let this sit 10-15 minutes before we cut it and start to serve it, okay?
Eventually.
Okay, so this has been cooling. And it's all set here, so we're going to take these out here. If I can get it. Don't forget it's 5 layers. You see the layers there? Makes a big difference if you let it sit for like 10 minutes. There you have it. Gotta call Chico. I'm sure he's gonna want this slice. Alright, until next time, guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Leave some comments down below on how you guys make yours. Right, buddy? Feed you? There you go. Look at that one. You won't be able to eat all that. Right? You gonna be able to eat all this? You're a wrestling boy? Alright. So what do we say? What was that?
Enjoy your food.
Enjoy your food and your life. Okay? Ciao.
Tuccino d'amor, delle belle tornando a riposo, Tuccino d'amor. Fra guerrieri può far pacco, grande stacchi stretto sacco, schioppo in spalla, sciabla a fianco, collo dritto, muso franco, un gran casco, un gran turbante, molto onor, poco cantante, poco cantante, poco cantante.